Marc Benioff is the founder, chairman, and co-CEO of Salesforce, the guy who practically invented the cloud and made his shareholders fortunes in the process. In addition to being a big-time philanthropist, Benioff's a believer in business as an agent of social change. Just yesterday, he published a new book, sold out already, called Trailblazer, The Power of Business as the Greatest Platform for Change. And earlier, we got to talk to him about it. Take a look. Marc, you are comfortable talking capitalism, and we're going to talk about that, but I want to talk about Joel for a moment. I want to talk about your father for a moment. That's his terrific mom. I want to talk about your grandfather. These were your inspirations. Aren't they why we are here today?
You know, I think for all of us, our families are, of course, our core values. And for me, I was fortunate to have a family that was incredibly committed to civil service and improving the state of the world. And my grandfather certainly was a huge part of that. I wrote about him in the book. In fact, our San Francisco Chronicle just published a number of photos of me with my grandfather I didn't even know existed. And he was a huge influence on my life, always reminding me to do something for somebody else.
Right, and did develop BART, which is still the greatest transport system.
He developed BART,
right.
Bay Area Rapid Transit, and that was his idea, which was to have a monorail system, right, like Disneyland, in San Francisco, on all 9 counties, wrapping it, and this amazing, spaceship-like monorail station next to City Hall where he had his office, because he was a supervisor in San Francisco for over a decade, in addition to being a great trial attorney. So he had a huge vision for our local community.
Next in your life, Steve Jobs and then Larry Ellison. 2 polar opposites, I would say, both very influential in your life.
Both, by the way, they were very close friends, and Steve Jobs had a huge impact on my life. Unexpected impact, because I would have dinner with him, and he would say, "Hey, come and see me, we need to talk." And I was in my 30s, I'm starting my company. I was super cautious because I was afraid of him. I had worked for him, you know how it is, we were first boss. I held him in such high regard and such high esteem, I still do. And he gave me invaluable advice. He told me, be mindful, project the future, right, think about an application economy. Paid off incredibly well for me.
At the same time, you started a company after the journey there. 1999, most people were out to make quick money. They wanted to sell their company, bring it public and cash in. You were immediately about using it as an important platform for change, but also 111, determined to be able to give back when everyone else was taking it.
Well, I can give gratitude to Larry Ellison for that, because after working at Oracle for 10 years, I was pretty burnt out. I was not feeling great, and I ended up taking a sabbatical. I wrote about that in the book that we just published, Trailblazer, Business is the Greatest Platform for Change. And Larry said, "Mark, take a sabbatical." I went to India. That's where I got some great advice, which was to think about other people while you're building the culture of your business. And I decided to do that when we started Salesforce now 21 years ago.
Well, there are a lot of points to the book, of which I felt the trip to India, the time off, all these things are great lessons for everyone who's trying to lead a better life, not just about trying to figure out capitalism. But you said that capitalism, as we know it, is dead. Who killed it?
Capitalism is dead. We need a new capitalism. We need a new sustainable, fair, a more equitable capitalism. We need a capitalism that values not just shareholders, and of course, I love shareholders, but as important, stakeholders. A capitalism values stakeholders. Who are your stakeholders? Your customers, your employees, your partners. In San Francisco, it's our homeless. You know that. You were there with me walking the streets.
Right.
It is our public schools. It is our planet. We have many stakeholders, not just shareholders.
Your shareholders, I believe, let you down on a very important non-acquisition. Before we get to it, what does the phrase "big man down" mean?
What it means is my shareholders are a key stakeholder. They're a critical part of how we run the business, and I listen to them. And even though I can be a visionary and see where things are going or see incredible potential, I'm also guided by my shareholders. It's one of the reasons why we have consistently improved our gross margin.
But you're avoiding
because they've asked for that.
You're avoiding the issue. Was there not some sort of karma, some sort of superstition when you fell down on the way to figuring out or solving the idea of buying Twitter?
I was on my way to this incredible meeting, 2 meetings actually, to get the money to buy Twitter, and it was with the bond companies, and they ended up giving us great ratings, so they didn't know that my leg was gushing blood. and I had ripped my Achilles, I had ripped my meniscus, and I had, on the way in, fallen on the pavement, and it probably was an omen, right? That the shareholders were not going to be happy. They may have created it or given me some energy in that direction.
Stock plummets to 16 after all the buyout talk is done. What a market at 28. You would have crushed it. What a great way to figure out what people are doing. Don't you regret it? I mean, come on.
Jim, I believe so strongly that I have to value all of my stakeholders, that if you have a belief that guides you like that, then I believe that my shareholders are always going to give me the right direction, as my customers are, as my employees are. By the way, as our local school kids are. I was just at one of our local public schools in San Francisco opening a new playground, giving a speech, and they brought the kids in. I'm looking in the kids' eyes, and when I was looking in the kids' eyes and I said to them, yes, of course, you're one of my key stakeholders. I have to be thinking about you. We're the largest employer in San Francisco. Are our local public schools not our key stakeholder?
No, I agree, and I know that you have influenced me to do that. Thank you. I thank you because
you did. You adopted a local public school.
Yes, I did, because of your mantra.
Which I think for doing that.
Absolutely.
Now, every CEO can adopt a local public school. Actually, everyone can.
All right, Business Roundtable, the majority agree with you, but there's also such a thing as greenwashing, which means that they are taking the view that they should care, but then they don't do it in deed, just word. Where is the Business Roundtable in your mind? And how about all these executives who claim to be taking in other stakeholders, but really are just same old, same old?
The Business Roundtable, which is the CEOs of the largest companies in the world, have said exactly this. The purpose of a corporation is all stakeholders as important as all shareholders. That trying to choose between the two is a false choice. That is what we think. When you talk to Alex Gorski, the CEO of Johnson & Johnson, who's the chairman of the Business Roundtable, this is his mantra. It comes out of the credo of Johnson & Johnson, but not just them, also JP Morgan Chase, IBM, all of the top companies in the world, they're all pivoting to the new capitalism about stakeholders.
Last night, Democratic debate. The Democrats, they seem convinced that the evil might be Amazon. Evil might be Facebook. The most powerful company, the trillion-dollar company, is Microsoft, and they already had a consent decree with the Justice Department. They're skating. Aren't they too powerful, particularly in the way that Satya Nadella stole LinkedIn from you when I thought you had to deal with them?
Well, Microsoft is the largest company in the tech industry. They're the largest platform
but not
in
for
office
social
productivity.
Change. Not for social change.
Well, not for social change, but that's why they do have a consent decree. So that's their history with the Justice Department. And so that's where they are. But still, we have to have a great tech industry with many platforms. That's why I think Amazon Web Services is important, Google Cloud is important, Microsoft is important, Salesforce is important. This can provide a set of choices for customers.
You scared me a few years ago when you told me to buy the book Ghost Fleet. It's really a frightening book. It's a vision of the Chinese influencing our defense and making it so that we would lose in a war. I have to believe that you think that it could be more than science fiction. Are you worried about the Chinese as an opponent to our country?
Well, that's actually not my interpretation of the book. We've never talked about it. So, my interpretation of the book is, and why I recommend Ghost Fleet for everybody to read, is artificial intelligence is one of the huge parts of the fourth industrial revolution, which is what we are going through right now. AI has tremendous opportunity. But technology is never good or bad. It's what we do with the technology that matters. And there will be dramatic consequences when artificial intelligence is applied to the military. But we can use AI for good as well. I just showed you how, we have a drone running in Santa Barbara with AI. It spotted a great white shark heading for a surf camp. And they called the beach, able to get the kids off the beach. That's AI for good. There's a lot of AI for good. There's going to be AI for other things too. We need to keep our eye on both.
I want to challenge you on the notion that business can be good. You are right. Business can be a platform for social change. But Mark, how about if social change, you don't believe it? I mean, we all seem to believe, when I read the book, social change for good. But social change is a two-way street. You could use it for bad.
Well, you're right. You can see social media today can be used for bad, and it probably is. Facebook probably is the new cigarettes. It's bad for you.
Can we take that back?
It's addictive.
Can we take that back?
They're after your kids, Jim. They're letting people run
Kids
false ads.
can change stripes.
They're providing data to tens of thousands of partners without the knowledge of their users. This is a company that probably should be regulated and broken up. It's got too much data, commingling data of all of its acquisitions to have greater influence on you as a consumer. That's an example where capitalism...
Cut it off? You don't have to deal with them.
Capitalism needs guardrails. That's the point of the book. That's a very important part of the future of technology as well.
But if you open that door, then you have show trials of executives. Last night they talked about a show trial of Alex Gorski. Alex Gorski, you and I both know, has saved more lives, is deeply committed to stopping suicide among veterans, and he gets mentioned last night as someone who should be prosecuted. You could go wild with this stuff about business.
Jim, this is why we have antitrust authorities worldwide embedded in every major government agency to keep an eye on these things. Government has to do what it's going to do. This is also what the SEC should do. The SEC can modify its regulations. I wrote about this in my op-ed on the New York Times on Monday, and say, hey, tell us who your stakeholders are. Tell us how you're managing your business, not just your shareholder return. Tell us what your stakeholder return. Salesforce already publishes its stakeholder return. All companies can do that easily now.
You are the co-CEO. Does a co-CEO have time to, in your day, and I know your schedule, apologies to Lynn up front, does a co-CEO have time to run for president? Don't dodge this.
My whole book is about how business is the greatest platform for change, because I believe that the work that I do as a CEO and as running Salesforce, and that Salesforce can have the power. I could never be a politician. I will never run for office, but I do know how to be a tech CEO. I do know how to build a business on all stakeholders. And what I want to do, Jim, is influence everyone from the intern to the CEO to the great, industry reporter, that they can all be platforms for change and that we can all improve the state of the world.
All right, well, I want to tell everyone they should, I've got pages, but my old friend Monica Langley helped you write this.
She did a fantastic job.
This is a read that is as tough as I ever read on some executive. It's tough on yourself, and I love it, and that's how you really learn. Yes, business is the greatest platform for social change. Marc Benioff is founder, chairman, and co-CEO of Salesforce, and the author of a must-read, of which I'm ripping pages out, Trailblazer. Thank you so much, Marc.
Thank you so much. Great to be with you, Jim.
Booyah! Jim Cramer here from Mad Money. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube. Click here to subscribe and get the jump on my exclusives with CEOs, plus market news, investing advice, and a whole lot more.